G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. On Gallery Aquatica TV, we look at some of the best reef tanks in Australia. These reef tanks have got sophisticated filtration systems which often incorporate UV sterilizers. We've never done an episode specifically on UV sterilizers, so today we're going to have a look at the UV sterilizer system on Magic Mountains. So why are UV sterilizer systems important on a reef tank? UV sterilizer systems are great at controlling protozoan parasites such as marine velvet and marine white spot. These parasites live part of their life cycle on the host, which is the fish, and part of their life cycle is free living. They basically swim around the water column looking for a host, and it's at this stage that the UV sterilizer kills the parasite. So you can control a parasitic infestation in a reef tank with correct UV sterilization. Now, we don't use UV sterilizers in lieu of quarantine. We always recommend that you quarantine your fish and corals before they go into your reef tank. But having the UV sterilizer is a great backup measure to protect against protozoan parasites. Now, when you have fish which are particularly prone to protozoan parasites, it is all the more important that you have UV sterilizer system. And in Magic Mountains, we have a number of fish which are very prone to marine white spot and velvet. In particular, the tangs. Now we have a lipstick tang, there's a blue tang, there's a gem tang, a purple tang, a yellow tang, Dusumari tang. All of these tangs are very prone to white spot. As well as the butterflies. There's pyramid butterflies, we've got some small angels, the Disparanthes. All these fish are very prone to protozoan parasites like white spot. Let's go downstairs and we'll have a look at the UV sterilizer system that we're running on Magic Mountains. So here we are downstairs underneath Magic Mountains. We have our sumps just here, and this is our UV sterilizer system. You can see we have two units. Each of these UV sterilizers are 150 watt Emperor UVs. Now, they're each run by a Vectra L1, and the Vectra L1 is pumping through about 9,000 litres per hour. Now, the flow rate is very important with a UV sterilizer. And the reason why the flow rate is important is because we talk about exposure rating with UV sterilizers. Now, the exposure rating is the amount of UVC that the organisms passing through them are receiving, and different organisms take different exposure ratings to be properly killed. So for example, a waterborne algae takes quite a low exposure rating, and a marine protozoa such as marine velvet and marine white spot take a very high exposure rating. So it's very important that you know what exposure rating the UV sterilizers are putting out on the water going through them. So the wattage and the flow rate are the two factors that you use to calculate exposure ratings. Now, there are a lot of UV sterilizers on the market which don't have a high exposure rating, and they're designed more for ponds and tanks that you're looking to control waterborne algae and bacteria and the likes. But for a reef tank, you need to have a good quality UV sterilizer and ensure that it's properly rated to kill marine protozoa. So we're going to have a look inside one of these units today. So let's open it up and check out what's inside these UV sterilizers. So the reason why we're opening up this UV sterilizer today is because we need to change the power supply. We replaced a tube on this UV sterilizer quite recently, and when we replaced the tube, the new tube didn't light up. And we knew that it had not lit up because we can see through this viewing panel that it wasn't lit. This one here is definitely working, and we can see through that panel. It's very important that you don't actually look at a lit up UV sterilizer tube with your naked eyes, because you can cause yourself serious damage. So we do need to be a bit careful, but we can tell when it's turned on through this panel. So we'll replace the power supply and see if it works. So we'll start by opening it up. So the first thing I've done is ensure that there's no power to this unit. So it's definitely switched off. So now I'm just undoing this first little lock nut, and that allows the cord to move freely. And now, I've already done it, but I'm undoing this. So this is the pins that joins onto the tube. I'm just going to disconnect, put this aside, and pull out the tube. So this is our tube for our UV sterilizer. You shouldn't touch the tube itself. You can see I'm just holding it at this end here. If you touch it with your fingers, you can cause hot spots with the oil in your fingers, and that can cause the tubes to burn out. But this tube is brand new and it's totally fine. So now I just need to change the power supply and see if it works. So now it's time to change over the power supply. We've plugged in the power supply and we've ensured that it's turned off. So I'm just going to take off the problem power supply and put in the new one. Make sure it's all the way in. Okay, and now turn it all back on. So inside these UV sterilizers, there's a quartz sleeve that separates the tube from the water passing through the unit. And the quartz sleeve is particularly important because it doesn't impede the light. So you've got a maximum amount of UV hitting the parasites as they go through the unit. But anyway, this is all plugged in, so I'm going to turn it on and see if it's going to work. Hooray! We've correctly diagnosed the problem. It was definitely the power supply that was stopping this tube from lighting up. So now we have a new power supply and we've got a new tube. It's a little bit hard to see it being turned on in the day like this, but at night time you'll see it glowing. It's a lot easier to see at night time, but it's definitely working. So for now, that's pretty much job done. We'll just go back upstairs and have one more look at the tank. Success! So we're back to running 300 watts of UV sterilization on this tank. The fish are now protected against marine protozoa like marine velvet and white spot. So thanks for watching today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing! That's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure you've subscribed to our channel so you don't miss an episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!